Hello, I'm Mr. Dr. Butthurt, and I've been working on a tabletop RPG named Nomalous. This video and its contents are for the 0, 8, 10 playtest. There are links for the playtest, Discord, and other things related to either myself or Nomalous in the description. I'm going to keep this intro short and get into the video's topic, the Nomalous character sheet. So we'll be going over the digital version of the character sheet first. It's a little bit daunting when you first look at it, but hopefully with this video, it'll help explain some of the reasoning behind why it looks the way it looks. This is also the work in progress for the character sheet. It's not going to look like this at the end. This is just what we have for the playtest and what I've used for my players while running Nomalous. So we'll go over some of the nuances to the character sheet. If we look up here at the top and bottom, we do have notes. Anything that's underlined is part of an equation or a function and shouldn't be manually touched unless absolutely necessary. So that would be anything like our wisdom. If we look here, it is calling to a location. We don't want to randomly type into there unless absolutely necessary. Because there are multiple parts of this character sheet that are looking at what this caster ability is. Same thing with your hit points. For instance, if we were to switch around whatever class you were, the hit points and your skill points automatically change based off of what you select here. So there are multiple functionalities like this throughout the character sheet. I have also tried to keep notes and put notes in where possible to kind of discourage typing and automatically like filling these out. Try to use what the character sheet says to use. If you don't use it like that, then there is the potential for other equations to be broken. So that's just a note, kind of like a heads up that if you end up playing around with it incorrectly, it will break the character sheet. And you will find that you'll have some issues in other areas of the character sheet. The character sheet itself is broken up into multiple boxes. I did this in order to keep things sort of in groups. So we have, like, for instance, here we have your melee attacks. How they work, ranged attacks, casting, defense and gear skills, bonuses. Those are all in their own little box, hopefully to help the player look in the right location and help them find information on the character sheet quicker. It is color coded as well, but I also added these side headers, you want to call them, to help point out what is in these boxes themselves. There are also tabs down here at the bottom. So we have our character sheet, our inventory, spells, tools, and references, and then notes. Those will cover as we go through the character sheet, but I just wanted to kind of point those out here in the beginning to kind of give an idea of what you're looking at. Again, I know it is very intense to look at first. As you use it, it makes more sense. This is not going to be the final character sheet. This is just what I have right now to help support the playtest. So the first section we're going to go over is the player information. That will be the box up here at the top right, this guy right here. So we'll go ahead and zoom in on it, take a look. It consists of the player name, which is your name, campaign name, Nomalous derivative name, which is your character name, and then a lot of these physical attributes that you will decide for yourself. As you notice, none of these are underlined, so put whatever you need there. It won't affect anything in the character sheet. When we move down here to species, you can type in whatever species you need or have chosen, and that will not affect anything in the character sheet from an automation standpoint. The class is something that will change a lot of things in the character sheet for you. So whenever you go to choose your class, be sure to drop down and select whichever class you are playing. So for instance, like right now we have a fighter selected. If we decided to choose like a warlock, if you watch our caster ability, hit points, and your skill points, whenever we select warlock, you notice that they change. So our caster ability has been switched to charisma. Our hit points is 2, and our skill points is now 6. These values are looked at different locations on the character sheet, and we will cover those once we get to those locations. I just want to kind of cover what this player information is about here. With retcon tokens and leverageability and class page, this is all information that you can type in. Your retcon tokens you'll be using as you play the game. Your leverageability is something that you select, which is also included in the anomalous derivative directive. So our retcon tokens and leverageability and how all that. But yeah, this one is very straightforward, very simple, not a whole bunch going on here, but it is very important that we use our drop down under the class and we try not to type in the caster ability, the HP, or the spell. You will be able to go in here, and as you change the level, if you type in different levels, different level numbers, it will adjust other locations in the character sheet. So for instance, if we zoom this out a little bit or scoot this over, we can look at our max HP. And as we adjust the level, let's say we're making a level 4 warlock. If we change the level to 4, our max HP over here will change. So we'll go ahead and change that to 4, hit enter. And as you noticed, the max HP has changed. The endurance has changed. A lot of these numbers will change along with your skill points. Again, we'll go over the skill points when we get to the skill location. But that is a good breakdown of this spot here. So we'll move on to our next area. So the next section we'll cover here is going to be this top right section. That is going to cover ability scores, checks, and base bonuses. It will be the purple box up in the top right of the character sheet. So we'll zoom in a little bit, give us a better look here what's going on. This top section here, ability scores, will cover our strength, dexterity, constitution, charisma, intelligence, and wisdom, which are your main ability scores that affect a lot of things about your character. This first column here is your total. This total column is going to add any of the numbers behind it. So for instance, we can do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and that will add all of those together. And this number, your total number, will be used in other locations. So for instance, as we were doing that, you could see that our checks down here, our fort save, was being adjusted based off of the total value here. So if we go ahead and clear these out, we can go ahead and see that our fort is dropping. So that is part of the underlined equations that I was talking about previous. Again, that is why we do not adjust any of these numbers, is so that way all of these other locations automatically get filled out for us. We'll cover this base section next. So the base is intended for your base ability scores. So that is the first scores that you roll, essentially. So your starting ability scores that can be found on page 8. These will be those numbers that you get anywhere between -3 and +3. The base score will also include any of the bonuses or negatives you get from your species. So be sure to add all those together, figure those out, and then enter them in here accordingly. The points section is intended to be used for your ability points. So once you hit the 6th level, you will automatically get an ability point put up here. If this ability point is here, that lets you know that you can then put that amount in one of these boxes. So for instance, if we go ahead and put one ability point in here, we do not have any more ability points to put in. It doesn't go negative, so just as a heads up, it only will let you know if there are no more ability points to put in. But then if we go over here and change our level to 12, it will give us another ability point. If we are 11, we will not get that ability point, just because that is how the classes work. Every 6 levels, the character will get another ability point. Moving on to the next section is our gear. So this would be from any of your defensive items or any of your weapons or anything that would give you a bonus to either strength, dexterity, constitution, charisma, any of these abilities. That is where you would put these in. Miscellaneous is used for random items or just a miscellaneous number that might be a permanent bonus that you have. Manual is used for just a manual override. This is where you can just type in whatever you need and won't affect anything. Temporary is used for just to as a spot if you're getting a bonus from like some sort of a spell or some sort of a location, or you eat something that gives you a bonus for a certain amount of time. You can put that in your temporary spot. The reason these are put in in this order, or the reason why these were broken down this way, is so that way you can keep track of where you're putting your points and where you're getting your points from a little bit easier. So instead of just having one big block that says, hey, this is your strength, now you can be like, okay, cool, here's my total, and this is where I'm getting my bonuses from. So continuing down to our checks under the ability scores, they work very similar. As far as they have the same columns here. So we have our totals, base, points, etc. here. They work the same. The only difference is as you can see, our bases here have an underline. So as you saw previously, as you add to your strength and your constitution, your fort save will go up. And there is a little note here that just lets you know the fort is the strength plus the constitution. But your totals of these get added already into the base of fort, reflex, and will. That works for all of this. So like if you add dexterity in there, your reflex is going to go up. Intelligence will make your reflex go up. Charisma will make your will go up. And then wisdom will make your will go up as well. So we'll go ahead and zero these guys out. So we'll go into the base. So the base, since it is underlined, as we can see, it's pulling from two locations. We know that one of those locations is our total strength, and one of those locations is our total constitution. There is another location that it is pulling from, and that location is based on your level here and your class. So depending on what class you choose and what level you're at, you will be getting a different base bonus. So it will always add in these totals, but it also pulls from this table right here in the class sheet. So this is the fighter sheet. These are the bonuses you get. And as you can see, we have a base bonus of 1 for the fighter, or 1 for fort, and 1 for reflex for the fighter. Those are automatically getting added in. So let's say, what if we wanted to get we had a level 5 fighter, we could go in here and change our level to level 5. So I'm doing that over here, and that's under that left box. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to change that level to level 5. Hit enter. And if we notice, we look at level 5, we get a fort of 3, a reflex of 2, and a will of 1. And those are automatically getting added in. So using this character sheet, you won't necessarily have to pay attention to this far right, these 3 far right columns so much, because they will automatically be added in as you level up your character. So we'll go ahead and set that back to 1, to kind of keep everything straightforward. And just like the ability scores, you have your points, your gear, your miscellaneous, your manual, and your temp. And they work just the same as the ability points. The points themselves currently do not have a number that you can put in. This can kind of be used for whatever you would like it to be used for, but there is no points that you would actually be putting into the checks as far as the rules of Nomalous apply to it. So our base bonuses section under the checks and ability scores works just the same as these 2 sections up here. You will notice though that with the base bonuses, you do get base combat score points. If we are looking at the class sheet, we will notice that next to level 1, there's an exclamation mark. So if we go down here and look at the level symbol legend, we get a base combat score point for every one of these exclamation marks. This number will adjust depending on your level, just like anything, or just like the bases up here. So let's say we're a fighter and we move on to level 3. We notice that our base combat score points has increased to 2. You would use these just as you would use the ability points. So as you put these points in, they subtract from this value here. Similar to the way fortitude, reflex, and will, your check section here works, your base is affected by a two different values. So one, we'll just use physical dex or physical defense here. It is affected by your dexterity, so it's going to look at your total dexterity. So as we increase dexterity, your physical defense will go up. But also, if we look at your class sheet, we have the physical defense bonus here. Just like in the check section, this will automatically get added in to your base as you level up your character. So like, let's say we have a level 6 fighter. If we look at our physical defense bonus as a level 6 fighter, it is at a 3, and we are not getting any bonuses from our dexterity, so that'd be a 0, but we are still getting that 3 bonus from being a level 3 fighter. So these, like I said before, anything underlined automatically gets filled out, and truthfully, these guys here, you don't really necessarily have to worry about too much as far as like recalling to these. These are just equations where you can add information in, adds everything together, and these are not the final score that you'll really be using. These final scores are added in to other locations, which I will cover whenever we get to those spots. So this next section we're going to cover is this middle section here. This covers everything from your hit points, endurance, threshold, tactical points, and then your energy points, along with your funds. Your max hit points and your last leg set value, those will be automatically calculated depending on your class that you have chosen, your level, and your constitution total. So as those are adjusted, your max HP will also adjust. The only thing that you might have to go in and add up at the top is any bonus HP that you would get from either a talent or from an item. I currently do not have a way for that to be added in, so it will have to be added via the function up here at the top. Temporary hit points is temporary hit points. Current hit points, those two you can change and adjust and it won't affect anything. Those are more or less for you. So the next section is the endurance section. This will let you know your max endurance threshold. So this is the max amount of endurance damage you can take before you have to start making checks. This will also let you know at how much endurance damage that you've taken when you will be fatigued. So essentially this is after you've taken 10 points of endurance damage, you will then be fatigued. That is what our exhaustion is for down here. This drop down will let you adjust whether you're rested, which will set everything to 0. Tired will automatically add the tired condition to all of your rolls, or all of your totals, I should say. Fatigued will, it'll add all of these conditions to your totals. So like, let's say you are exhausted, it'll go through and it'll automatically add all of the negatives for being exhausted. So we'll go ahead and back and set that to rested. Good to go there. This is the next section is the tactical point section. This is really for just keeping track of how much tactical points you have. The max is always 9. Your regeneration rate is normally always 6, but this can change depending on conditions or spells. So this is a way to keep track of that, along with your current. Upkeep is here if you want to have a reminder that you are always using a certain amount of tactical points per round for a certain skill. So you can put that there and just keep in mind that you are using those tactical points that round. Max energy is not one of those things that's automatically calculated. You will have to enter in your max energy based off of your class and your scores. The regeneration per round will automatically update based off of whatever your max energy is. So as you adjust your max energy, your regeneration will automatically change. Upkeep is used for channeling spells, so that way you can keep in track of how much energy you're using for upkeep of channeled spells. And your current energy is a way to keep track of your current energy. If you are using a virtual tabletop, there is often a lot of them have locations for this information. This is just here to automatically calculate that information and double check against your tokens or your whatever you're using inside of the virtual tabletop. Funds are pretty straightforward. Your copper, silver, gold, and bismuth. The bismuth has a breakdown of it in here of how it can vary depending on ounces. These are broken down into pieces. They do not automatically transfer over. So like, let's say if you want to have 15 copper pieces, you're going to have 15 copper pieces. It won't automatically adjust it to silver. But there is the ratio up here that lets you know it's like, every 10 copper pieces you have technically is 1 silver. And every 10 gold or every 10 silver you have is technically 1 gold. And it goes back the other way too. So set that back to 0 and we'll move on to the next one. So this next section that we're going to cover is the attack melee section. That is going to be the red box, and this is going to cover anything that involves physically hitting something with either like your fist or another object, or attacking with like a sword or a weapon. So this bar up here at the top, this is going to be your attack bonus with anything that you're attacking with. So this is going to be your base bonus that you're going to want to keep an eye on. This is derived from both your physical attack bonus, which is here, and also your strength bonus. Coming back to this box here, that is why this location is left blank and unused. The ability that gives you a bonus with physical melee like this is the strength bonus. Whereas ranged, you get your physical attack bonus plus your dexterity. So that will automatically be calculated here and you will not need to enter it. Same thing with your damage. Your damage is derived directly from your strength. These two will be added to any attack that you make and will be added to weapons as well. We'll cover that once we get through the unarmed. So moving on to unarmed, we are assuming that you are attacked completely unarmed, no weapon whatsoever, no fist pack, no gauntlet, no nothing of that nature. So this will be your attack bonus for that. Then your damage bonus, or the amount of damage you will do will be here. You will roll that and add whatever this bonus is. So this will automatically be calculated by your strength. So as you get stronger, it will automatically add the bonus damage from the strength here. So you can kind of keep track of that fairly simple. The only time you wouldn't use this as your unarmed attack is if you were playing a Shamunk. So if you are playing a Shamunk, I recommend changing that to one of these down here. Whenever we get down here, I'll go over that. Your grapple down here too is automatically calculated, which includes your physical attack bonus along with your strength and your dexterity. So depending on what these bonuses are, that's how that will be calculated. So these 4 boxes are for weapons, melee weapons that you use on the regular, or if they are quickly accessible to you. We will go ahead and we will start off by using a club. So we are going to use these values right here to fill out the weapon here. We're going to use melee 1. So we'll go ahead and we will change the name to club. It is going to be an ordinary club. So we're not going to do any pluses or minuses or due to it being flawed or superb. So we will keep it an ordinary club. We don't have any talents or anything that's going to get, it's not a magical club, so it's not going to get any attack bonus or anything of that nature. So we'll keep this as a 0. The damage, since we are a human and we are a medium-sized creature, we are going to use the 1d6 under the M damage and put that there. Hard hit and critical are 11 through 12 times 2. We have 11 through 12 times 2 already, and that is under our hard hit and our critical. So we'll leave that there. And the weight is under the LVS. So we'll look at the club weight, and we are going to put a 3 here. Some melee weapons do have a ranged, and that is their effective range for being thrown. We can go ahead and put that under notes. So that way we have an idea of how far we can throw it. So if we were to go ahead and make an attack with this weapon, our club, we would effectively add this number plus this number to whatever we roll on the D12. Because these two numbers here will not add with each other and they kind of stand alone. So this attack is effectively only used for only a bonus from this club. And this attack is a bonus from your character itself. So this is the character bonus. This is the weapon bonus. The same goes for damage. The club itself doesn't have any special properties, so it doesn't do any more damage. And we do not have a strength bonus, so we do not do any damage, extra damage either. But for instance, if we had 1 strength, our damage goes up to a +1. So we would add the 0 to the +1 to the D6 that we roll for damage. And then again, like I was saying with the Shamunk, if you're playing a Shamunk and you're doing a melee run of a Shamunk, then I would recommend changing one of your weapons to unarmed. That way you can go in and you can change the damages and you can add your extra bonuses and your extra attack based off of your Shamunk class. So we'll move down to the range box. That'll be the weapon attack range. This will be for any ranged attacks you make. This attack and this damage work just the same as the melee version of it. The only difference is the attack bonus comes from both your physical attack from the purple box here, plus your dexterity. So whereas strength is used for physical up here, dexterity is used for your ranged. Damage bonus, this would be from some sort of external source. There are talents and there are some magical items that will just give you a flat bonus damage to physical ranged attacks. That's where this would get added in. This next section here is for anything thrown. Pretty self-explanatory. If you're throwing anything specific or special, there is values for that, but if there's something just like a small rock or something of that nature, this is the value that you would use for that. We will move down to our ranged weapon itself. So in this case, we will use a heavy crossbow. So if we look here, we'll go ahead and change the name of the weapon to heavy crossbow. We don't get any attack bonus. We don't get any damage bonus from this heavy crossbow since it's a normal crossbow. It is also an ordinary crossbow, so we're not getting any pluses or minus depending on if it's flawed or superb. Just to note though, if it is flawed or superb, you would add the attack bonus or negative here. Our range for it is going to be 120. So we can go ahead and put the 120 in the range, and then we can put the weight of 8 in there as well. So now that we got that there, we're good to go. Now the difference between ranged and melee weapons is ranged weapons get their die rolls from their, like the die roll for damage from their munitions. So the munitions themselves will actually cause different amounts of damage. So the heavy crossbow doesn't have a flat like 1d8 or 1d4. It will be dependent on the ammo that you're using. So we do have a heavy normal bolt that we will be having here. We have, let's say, 10 of them. Then our heavy normal bolt does 1d10 flat damage. And then our hard hit crit on the heavy bolt is 11 through 12 times 2. So we'll go ahead and enter that in here. So we got 11 to 12 times 2. This way we have all of our information right here, any extra notes, any magic, what you might need for it. Again, whenever you make an attack with a ranged weapon, you add this attack plus the weapon's attack. And then if you hit, you will do the ammo's damage. So you will roll the ammo damage, add any bonuses from the crossbow itself, plus the damage of your character. But we are going to move on to the blue defense gear and prosthetics box. We'll go ahead and we'll go find our armor real quick. So your physical defense and your energy defense, these numbers here are all underlined. They will all calculate themselves based off of your armor that you're wearing. Every entity character has a base physical defense of 5 plus whatever they're wearing, and a base energy defense of 5 plus whatever they're wearing. So your totals will automatically include that 5. So we'll go ahead and we will start by entering in our armor. There is a couple of different slots here that we have. So we have the armor, the helmet, the gloves, the boots, the shield, the back, and then we also have a couple of different others down here. These are not, you don't necessarily have to use them like this. I just made space enough just in case you are wearing all of this. The helmet, the gloves, the boots more than likely will be magic items, so they won't necessarily give you physical defense or energy defense, but they will have some sort of note or magic that accompanies them. Same thing with the other one, the other two, other three, other four. Those can be used for necklaces, rings, tattoos that give you magical abilities, or even prosthetics. Again, most of the time those won't give you a physical defense or energy defense, but it is good to have them on the front page so you can remember that they're there and remember that they do cool stuff. We will go ahead and we will start working on some armor to kind of show you how you enter in this information over here. So we will do bone mail. So we'll go ahead and we'll go to our armor, enter our bone mail. It is a medium armor. So this letter, the first letter is going to be the type of armor it is, and then the second letter is going to be the condition, so you can kind of keep track of what that armor actually is. So we'll look at our physical defense, which will be our PDB, physical defense bonus. So we will go ahead and under bone mail, we have a PDB of 5, so we'll enter that there. We have an energy defense, which is the EDB, the second one. We will enter that here. We have a skill det of 2. So with skill det, we will have to put that in as a -2, and then we will put the weight. So that'll be under the LBS of 32. And just so we know here, see, even I jacked it up there. So our dex cap is 2. So we do not have a spot for dex cap since there's no way to, I don't have a way on this character sheet to kind of use that, but we'll cover that in a second. Our skill det is the SCD. Skill check det. So our skill check det is 5, so that will be a -5. It is possible to, I do believe I'm going to go through and put these all as negatives, so that way we know that they have to be negative. But as far as using this character sheet with this, the skill det is more than likely going to be either 0 or a negative number. Your skill det will never be a positive number. Now that we have that all entered in, we don't have any notes, nothing special about it, and it's not magical. We can notice that our physical defense total is now 11 and our energy defense total is now 8. So these are where you'll find the total numbers. If you're getting attacked, this is the total that you want to look at. Now going back and talking about this dex cap, with the character sheet, unfortunately, the dex cap, I am not skilled enough to put that in there just yet. It may be in the next character sheet, but it will be in the final one. Is what the dex cap does is it is the max amount of dexterity bonus that you can gain while wearing this armor. So if you had a dex of, let's say, 3, you would only be allowed to have a total of 2. So that's where your manual addition comes in here. So since it has to be a 2, we would just put a -1, and that would even everything out. Since all of the rest of the character sheet looks at this total, adjusting it in this manner would allow everything else to adjust accordingly and correct. But for the most part, that is how the defense gear and prosthetics section works. There currently are no prosthetics in the derivative document, but there will be some in the observing scribes document. So that's where this is where you would put those as well. All right, the next section that we're going to be looking at is going to be our skills section. That is going to be the right bottomish yellow block here. And that's going to involve everything to do with our skills. So we got some numbers here already, and we got some addition going on from some of the changes that we have added, such as our armor and our ability. The totals and the ability are auto-populating along with the passive. We do also have these guys here, which are calculated. So I will go ahead and underline those as well, so that way you guys just know that they are in fact automatically calculated. So the total will be just like the rest of these other ones up here in this area, they add the ability, the point, the gear, the miscellaneous, and the manual. The difference is some of these skills are affected by your skill debt of the gear you're wearing. So remember how we put that bone mail on? Well, we have a skill debt of -5, so these are also affected by that skill debt. There is one that is affected doubly by skill debt, and that is your swim. So you'll notice that that is getting a heavy -10. There's a note that's letting you know that, hey, the swim is double skill debt, but we'll cover down here kind of what these little symbols mean as well. As you level up, the amount of skill points that you can put into a skill and the amount of skill points you just get increase. So with the character sheet here, as you level your character up, it will automatically add skill points to your character. So as we get more levels, so level 2, we would increase by our however many skill points this class does, so on and so forth. And that also is affected by which class you have. So rogues tend to have a lot more skill points than the fighter that we are building here. As our levels go up, so does the max amount of points we can put in a skill. The ability is a separate amount. So like, let's say we do have, keep that at 3 just because of our armor that we have on, increase our strength to 1, 2, 4, so that we can kind of get an idea of what's going down in here. So as we see, we have wisdom, which is yellow here. All of our wisdom based skills are going to be yellow, so you can kind of know which ability is affecting which. Appraisal is affected by intelligence, balance is affected by dexterity, climb is affected by strength, and then we have purple, which is going to be affected by your charisma. We'll go ahead and set all of these except our dexterity back to 0, and I want to go over intelligence and how it affects your total skill points. So as your intelligence goes up, it will affect your skill points. That is also shown on the character sheet as well. So as your intelligence is increased, the amount of skill points will also go up. So those will automatically be added in here. If we go in here and take a look, the points, this is where you place these skill points. So the points column is where you will place the skill points that you have the amount to allocate. So like, let's say if you put 3 points into aid, it will automatically subtract from your total skill points here. So you can go through and add all your skill points until you have used them all, and it will let you know if you have put too many skill points in. So it will go negative. If this is negative, then you will have to go back and kind of figure out which one you want to subtract 1 from to get back to 0. So that being said, we'll crank all these back to 0 to get back to our max amount of skill points. The other values that affect this are down here, are points used for armor proficiency and points used for weapon proficiency. So if you're using skill points to gain proficiency in a armor or in a weapon, you would put the points that you used for that proficiency in this spot to subtract them from your skill points. This is really just used so you can keep a total of how many skill points you've used without having to write it all down, letting the character sheet do the math for you and keep track of it for you as long as you're putting it in the right spot. So like, let's say if you used 5 skill points on armor, it would automatically subtract it from your skill points up here. You used another 10 for weapons, again, it would automatically subtract it from up here. So we can go ahead and zero those guys out again. The bar above it, this is where you can add extra skill points to the total box up here. So these 3 values here will add to this here. There isn't necessarily a rule or function or anything like that within Nomalous that just gives you skill points, but in some cases your game master might have quests or items or things you might be able to do to gain skill points. I wanted to add a little spot where you can add those into here, and if the game master wants to play that and use those mechanics that they've come up with on their own to just give you skill points, you have a place to put them. So if you put in, like, let's say 10 here, it'll go ahead and increase the amount of skill points that you have up there by 10. The passives are also automatically calculated here as well. I'm not going to go super big into passives. That's in the book itself, but it is automatically calculated. If we go down a little bit farther here, there under the entire yellow is the skill legend. So this will let you know if a skill is affected by skill debt, it'll have a little star. So just for instance, we have swim here. As you can see, the note says that it is double skill debt. It has 2 stars, so double skill debt there. The skill debt on our armor is a -5, so we're getting a -10 current. Same thing with perform. Perform has 1 star, so it's affected by skill debt once. So that's how you're getting that -5 there. The little caret means that you can use the skill while moving. That is for tactical situations, and if you're using tactical points to move, you can use this skill while moving without using tactical points. Again, that's deeper into the skill book, or into the document itself, so I'm not going to go over that too much right now. And then the little dash means that you need tools in order to use this skill. So if we look at open lock, it has a little dash next to it. That means that you'll need tools of some sort in order to use that skill. This is just like a quick reference to how you can use the skills and what affects them. Now that we've covered all the skills, we will go over our little extras down here. Now these are really used just to keep track of things. Each one of these has a note to let you know how they're used. So like this is a all roles modifier. So we'll take a look at the difference between the all roles and all skills. If we add a 1 to all roles, that will add a 1 to all of our skill checks in the total, along with anything else. So this is including like ranged attack. So our ranged attack went up by 1. So if we change this back to 0, you'll see that the ranged attack goes down to 4. So that's kind of how the all roles modifier affects the character sheet. The all skills modifier will only affect the skills. So if we put like a 2 in here, if you look at all the skill totals, they will all go up by 2. Again, these are for magical abilities, anything like that. The 6 over here are for red. These are for skills. So any strength-based skills will get this bonus. Any charisma-based skills will get this bonus. Dexterity, intelligence, and then wisdom. So if you add 2, 3, 4, 5, we can see that our skills are automatically getting a bonus. It's going to be kind of hard to see on certain things like sleight of hand, for instance, in this case, because if we look up here, we are getting a skill debt of -5. We are getting a +2 bonus from our dexterity, but then again, we are getting a +3 global skill bonus, which will even out to 0. It's adding all of these extra little bonuses and everything together, so that way all you have to do is look at the total, know exactly what you have to add to your roll, and you can just roll. So we'll set all these back to 0, and then we'll go over this one. This one is perception-based skills. So there are certain spells, certain effects that only affect your perception-based skills. This is where you would adjust all of those at once. So like, let's do something wild so we can see exactly which ones these affect. We go in and add 20. Your listen just went up by 20. Your search went up by 20. Your spot went up by 20. That is the skills tab, and that is how that is used. So the next thing we're actually going to cover is nothing on this sheet. We are actually going to move down to one of our tabs here. We have a tools reference tab. This is a tab that is going to be constantly changed as the iterations and as you guys give feedback and what might be useful to have here. But for now, it has a crafting DC calculator along with an enchanting checks and enchanting time calculator. These are used for crafting, and then if you have a talent that allows for enchanting, this one will be for the enchanting. The rules for enchanting and for crafting are in the book itself, but this just allows for quick and easy DC check calculation using whatever you might be making. So like, for instance, if we needed to make like a heavy crossbow or something like that, or we'll say that it costs 100 gold. Whatever the ordinary cost of the item is put here, it will let you know the DC to create it flawed, ordinary, or superb. It will then go in and let you know how many minutes or hours it will take to craft each one depending on the type of material it is. There's also like a little quick rule here. So any roll under the flawed DC will be automatically failure. Again, the rules for how crafting works is covered more in the document. This is just an easy tool that is already on the character sheet that crafters and enchanters can use to kind of calculate how things work. If I need to go into more specifics about this, I can, but for now, we'll just kind of leave it at that, let you know that that exists and that's what it is used for. So the next little section we're going to cover here is the weights. So this will be like your current load, how much weight you're currently holding, how much weight you can carry up to before it's considered a medium load. So like, what, for instance, if you were carrying 90 pounds exactly, that would still be a light load. But if you were carrying 91 pounds, you would break the light threshold and move over into a medium weight. Same thing goes for medium weight. If you had 130 pounds of gear on you, you're still considered medium weight. But as soon as you go to 131, you are considered heavyweight. The max load is the maximum amount you can carry in order to still be moving. The heavy load and the above max load both have conditions tied to them. This information is covered in our equipment's goods and service section under general goods weight limits. So if you go there, this will break down even more so how that works, and the difference between encumbered and over encumbered are considered conditions and how they affect you, and fatigue and exhaustion and all of that. This is just a tool to help keep track of how much weight you have or how much you can actually carry. It gives you notes to let you know that there's DC checks to double the amount to carry it over your head, or DC check to triple the amount. Same thing with bench, squat, deadlift, drag, whatever you have. These will automatically adjust depending on your strength. So if we have 2 base, 1 there, we'll notice that our max light weight went up, max medium weight, and then the max load weight, along with all of these other weights. If the objects weigh under or this, you do not have to roll to move it. You only have to roll if it is over that weight. Again, that's a rule that is in the document, but I just kind of wanted to cover that here. So we'll go ahead and set these back to 0, and we'll notice that these drop. Your current load, as you can see, is underlined, so that is automatically calculated based off of your weights in your armor, your weapons, anything you're carrying, really. So entering the weights in your weapons and in your armors is very important whenever it comes to keeping this as accurate as possible. Now, additionally to your current load, you do have, this does pull from a different tab, which is your inventory tab. So if we move over to your inventory tab, this is where you can type whatever types of items you have. So like we have HP pot, and we have, that weighs 1 pound, but we have 3 of them. If we scroll down here at the bottom, it will show us the pack load. And we know that since we have 3 HP potions at 1 pound per potion, our pack load is going to be 3 pounds. On person inventory is different than off person inventory. On person inventory will be added to the current load. So we have the plus 3 pounds from the hit point potions that we have in our pack. If we have off-person inventory, such as like inventory in a carriage or stuff we're trying to keep track of, we can put that information in the off-person inventory. Or if you have like a large boat that's carrying tons of wine that you just need to keep track of, you can put your cask of wine in here, and you have 1 of them, and they are 150 pounds. That will not be added into your actual current load. It is just a way to keep track of how much certain things weigh and how many of them you have off person. So if you decide to move them on person, you can easily copy it over, paste it in there, and it will adjust your pack load. So additionally, on this page, we do have a little bit of more information here. These are campaign bonus, special bonus, extra languages you might have, just a place for to kind of put little extra information that you might see all the time, so that way you can remember it. Special notes for any talents that you have or any class abilities, your starting proficiencies, which autofill based off of your class. So like if we were to go back to the character sheet, change our class to Warlock. We will notice that in our inventory tab, we have lost a lot of proficiencies because they are not proficient in a lot of, weapons or armor. Down here is where you would put your learned proficiencies, and it has the amount of skill points you need. Again, whenever you're entering in these learned proficiencies or writing down what proficiencies you might have, always remember to go back and add them in here so that way you're keeping your skill point value where it needs to be. Yeah, for the most part, that is how this was intended to be used. Right, we'll go back to the casting section, and here we have the automatically calculating energy attack, lingering spells, and then we have a spell check calculator. This is really here for figuring out the spell saves from the energy attack or the spell power. Enter in what your EA was or the spell power of the spell, and it'll let you know what the spell save is. Just here, just in case you need it. The energy attack will calculate from energy attack here, which is calculated based off of what class you choose and your abilities along with any points you put into here. So we have 2 intelligence, which would increase our energy attack to 3, which would show up down here, calculated there for you. But if we were a warlock instead of a wizard, warlocks go off of the caster ability charisma. So your charisma would be 0, energy attack would be 1 since it's not getting that +2 bonus, and then it would be an energy attack of 1. So we'll stick with warlock for now. And we'll go and we will take a look at the big part of this, which is the selected spell tab. I have it open over here as well, so that way we can see the changes done on the ADC sheet and how they affect the selected spells tab. So moving over to the selected spells tab, we have a little bit of information here. The prepared spells are for classes that need to prepare spells. We'll cover that here in a little bit whenever we switch over back to wizard. But for now, we have the spell tiers. So this is what tier the spell is from 0 to 6. And this is the spells known by the caster, or in those tiers. A level 1 warlock knows 4 tier 0 spells and then 2 tier 1 spells. There is a max prepared still here. The warlock, if the max prepared is a dash, the total prepared doesn't matter. Again, this is something that we'll cover here in a little bit. Another part of this is the CWHCKSR. This part you don't have to worry about. That's the legacy part of the spell sheet. It's being left in for now just to keep everything kind of working. It will be cleaned out at some point, but for now, just ignore it. Also up in this top area, we have the hard hits and critical for fire, ice, force, and then lightning spells. So these are damage spells, and then these are the hard hit and criticals of those spells. Additionally, up here we have the attack that is pulled from the EA on the main page, and then along with your energy defense, and then your number of lingering spells. The reason I put these guys here is so that way whenever you're casting spells and such, you don't have to keep going back and forth. Keeps things kind of simple and keeps your numbers pretty straightforward whenever you're casting a bunch of spells. I also put up a couple of things here that are commonly used equations. So like concentration checks if you get hit, your spell check, which is this guy, and how to figure it, how to calculate a total number of lingering spells. It's automatically calculated, but it was put here so that way you know how it's being calculated. So let us go back and let us take a look at the prepared, max prepared, and total prepared. So Warlock does not have to have prepared spells, but if we switch back over to a wizard, we notice that the wizard now has a max prepared number. So the max prepared number is the max number of spells that a wizard can prepare at a time. A wizard can know more spells than they can cast, and they can only cast the spells that they have prepared. So with that in mind, I made a way for the player to keep track of the total number that are prepared and the total that they can prepare. So let's say we have spell 1. We'll assume that they have the 4 tier zeros. So that's the 4 tier zeros there. And then the 2 tier 1s, 2 tier 1s. Now that we have the spells that we know, we need to select the spells that we have prepared. So we have a total of prepared of 0 here. So if we go in and we change this most left box from 0 to 1, that'll let us know that we have that spell prepared. And if we look here too, the total prepared has gone up. So we'll say spell 1, spell 3, and spell 4 we have prepared. So we know those spells, and we can go beyond that to 4 total prepared spells. But this is just to help keep track of how many total prepared spells you might have. So we also have spells known per tier. As you can see that these guys are all underlined, so they automatically fill themselves out, and they go based off of your level. So we will change the level to 11, just for instance. And if you watch, the amount of spells known and max prepared spells will go. So as you level up your character, it will automatically let you know how many more spells you can know and how many more you can prepare. And if we go and check out the class here, so we'll go to the classes, and we'll go to our wizard. So our wizard at level 11, they can prepare 8, no 7 0 tier, no 7 1 tier, no 4 2 tier, and no 1 1 tier. And then we'll go back to our spells selected here, and if we look at that, everything matches up. All of this table is populated automatically right here for you. The only thing that isn't necessarily populated is if we go into casting basics. Look here, there are additional prepared and additional known spells. Those unfortunately are ones that I haven't been able to work in just yet, so that's what the bonus spell is for. So that's the bonus known, total prepared. You, fortunately, at this point, will just have to remember that you know one more or can prepare more. Other than that, using the spell list is pretty straightforward. I'll move this over here so you can take a look. We have the spell list that is included. So you go at the bottom here. It'll start on caster rules, and these are kind of the rules of how the caster works. And then if we go to wizard, it will be all of the wizard spells. You can straight copy and paste from this. So if you select a row, for instance, like I want 6, so we'll copy row 6, and I want alarm. We're going to go to the spell where we want to put it and hit paste, and it'll paste everything in there for us already. So how many energy points do what, a big description here, and then the small description, duration, all that stuff. All the spell information will be here. So that way, whenever you're picking your spells as you level up, you don't constantly have to keep the actual spell list up. You can just go off your character sheet and what you have saved here. And the last little part of the sheet I have is goals and important notes. Just a small little spot to keep information that is like very pertinent that you just need to know or want to keep track of. Additionally, down here at the bottom, there is also a notes tab where you can put a date, notes, and what are the goals to the notes. Again, this is super straightforward. It doesn't need to be used necessarily. This just kind of helps with like role play and trying to accomplish like a larger goal at the end, depending on how you're playing your campaign or playing your character. But yeah, that is the character sheet, how it's used. Again, this is for the playtest. This is an early iteration of the final version of the character sheet. It gives us something to use while the playtest is being performed. I hope this video is helpful. Help you walk through some of the intricacies of Nomalous during this playtest. I appreciate you showing interest in the playtest, and I hope to hear from you. I'm interested to see what everybody has to think about it, and I want to keep developing it, keep making it better. Without you guys, I would not be able to accomplish this. So thank you very, very much. Thank you very much. I greatly appreciate it. But yeah, that's all for now, and I will catch you guys next time.